Have you ever heard a story so chilling you can't shake it? A story whispered across generations in Scotland, one that remains unsolved to this day. Deep in the heart of Edinburgh, there's a tale that haunts the cobblestone streets. It's the story of Sonny Bean and his family, a clan said to have lived in a remote sea cave during the 16th century. For over 2 decades, they terrorized the Scottish countryside. Travelers who ventured too close to their coastal lair would simply vanish, never to be seen again. Local legends say the Bean clan ambushed these poor souls, dragging them back to their cave. What happened next is the stuff of nightmares. The stories claim the family was a cannibalistic cult, responsible for the disappearance of over 1,000 people. Eventually, a massive manhunt led by King James VI was launched. The soldiers, guided by bloodhounds, discovered the cave. What they found inside was a grotesque scene of human remains and stolen goods. The entire clan was captured and executed without a trial. But here's the twist. There are no official records from that time that mention Sonny Bean or his horrific deeds. No court documents, no historical entries, nothing. The story only appears centuries later in sensationalist chapbooks and London newspapers. So, was Sonny Bean a real monster? Or just a terrifying piece of folklore created to scare travelers and sell papers? The lack of evidence makes the tale even more unsettling. Was the truth so horrifying that it was erased from history? Or is it a powerful myth that has taken on a life of its own? Then, there's the enduring mystery of the Flannan Isles Lighthouse, a lonely outpost in the Outer Hebrides. In December 1900, a passing ship noticed the light was out. A relief vessel, the Hesperus, was sent to investigate. When the keeper, Joseph Moore, rowed ashore, he found the lighthouse eerily deserted. The entrance gate and the main door were both closed. Inside, the clocks had stopped. An overturned chair lay by the kitchen table, and a meal of meat and potatoes was left untouched. The beds were unmade, and the keeper's oilskin coats were gone, suggesting they left in a hurry. But where could they have gone? The 3 keepers, Thomas Marshall, James the Cat, and Donald MacArthur, had vanished without a trace. The lighthouse logbook offered some strange clues. One entry mentioned a severe storm with powerful winds, the likes of which the keeper had never seen. He wrote of his companions being unusually quiet, with one of them in tears. This was strange, as all 3 men were seasoned mariners, not easily frightened by bad weather. Another entry noted that the storm had passed and the sea was calm. The final entry simply read, "God is over all." But weather reports for the area showed no storms during the period. The seas were calm. So what happened? Theories range from a rogue wave sweeping them off the cliffs to a fight that ended in tragedy. Some even suggest a more supernatural explanation, a sea serpent or an otherworldly entity. But with no bodies and no witnesses, the fate of the Flannan Isles Lighthouse keepers remains one of Scotland's most haunting and perplexing maritime mysteries. Let's journey to the remote and windswept island of Iona Moor, a place steeped in ancient folklore long before the lighthouse was even built. Locals have always considered it a place of strange power, a place where the veil between worlds is thin. They spoke of the little people and otherworldly spirits that inhabited the island, and for centuries, shepherds would refuse to leave their flocks there overnight. They believed that spending a night on Iona Moor was an invitation for disaster. It was on this very island that the 3 lighthouse keepers disappeared. The logbook entries themselves add to the mystery. Why would a veteran keeper describe a storm that seemingly never happened? Why would his colleague be crying? The final log entry, "God is over all," sounds like a final, desperate prayer. Some have speculated that the men experienced a shared psychological breakdown, a folie à trois, driven mad by the intense isolation and the island's eerie reputation. Perhaps they saw something so terrifying that it drove them into the sea. Another theory suggests that one keeper went insane, murdered the other 2, and then threw himself from the cliffs. Yet, the station was found in perfect order, aside from the overturned chair. There were no signs of a struggle, no blood, nothing to suggest violence. The fact that their foul weather gear was missing suggests they went outside together. But why? And why would they leave the lighthouse unmanned? A cardinal sin for a keeper. The mystery deepens the more you look into it. The island keeps its secrets well. Another chilling unsolved case is the famous tale of the Gorbals vampire of Glasgow. In September 1954, a strange rumor gripped the city's southern necropolis, a vast and gothic cemetery. School children started whispering about a 7-foot-tall vampire with iron teeth who had kidnapped and eaten to local boys. The story spread like wildfire through the playgrounds of the Gorbals district. On one particular evening, hundreds of children, aged from 4 to 14, armed themselves with whatever they could find: sticks, kitchen knives, and even crosses, and descended upon the cemetery. They were on a vampire hunt. For hours, they patrolled the graveyard, their makeshift weapons held high, determined to find and destroy the monster. The police were called, but they struggled to disperse the determined crowd of young vigilantes. The children were utterly convinced the creature was real. When questioned, they all told the same story. The iron-toothed vampire was hiding among the tombstones. Eventually, the local headmaster had to convince the children that no such creature existed and that they should go home. But where did this mass hysteria come from? Many at the time blamed American horror comics, like Tales from the Crypt, which were popular and featured similar ghoulish characters. The incident led to a nationwide moral panic and a campaign to ban these comics. Yet, no one could ever definitively trace the origin of the iron-toothed tale. Was it simply a case of playground rumors getting out of hand, amplified by comic book imagery? Or did some strange figure or event in the cemetery spark the initial fear? To this day, the Gorbals vampire remains a bizarre and unsettling example of mass hysteria, a folk devil born from the fears of a generation. The 2 missing boys, by the way, were never identified and no missing person reports were ever filed. Finally, we turn to the haunting mystery of the hairy hands of Dartmoor. Though technically just south of Scotland, this story shares the same chilling, folkloric quality. For over a century, travelers on a specific stretch of road in Dartmoor have reported a terrifying phenomenon. While driving or riding their bikes, they suddenly feel a pair of disembodied, hairy hands grab their handlebars or steering wheel, trying to force them off the road. One of the earliest documented cases was in 1921 when a medical officer from Dartmoor prison died after he was thrown from his motorcycle. His children, who were in the sidecar, told witnesses that they saw their father wrestling with the controls, as if someone was trying to take them from him a few weeks later. Another army officer reported that a pair of unseen hands took control of his motorcycle and tried to steer him off the road, but he managed to fight them off and survive. The stories continued for decades. A woman camping nearby claimed to have seen a hairy hand crawling up the window of her caravan. Another driver felt the hands take her wheel, but she was saved when her husband, sitting beside her, grabbed the wheel and helped her regain control. Skeptics argued that the road's unusual camber and the deceptive nature of the landscape could cause drivers to misjudge turns, leading to accidents. But this doesn't explain the consistent and specific sensation of being grabbed by hairy hands. Is it a local ghost, the spirit of someone who died tragically on that road? Or is it something older, a malevolent nature spirit tied to the ancient, wild landscape of the moor? Like all these stories, the hairy hands of Dartmoor remain an unnerving mystery, a terrifying tale that exists in the unsettling space between fact and folklore. These stories from Scotland and beyond are more than just ghost tales. They are puzzles without solutions, embedded in the very landscape and culture. They remind us that even in our modern world, there are still corners where the unknown lingers and logic fails to provide an answer. What do you think is the truth behind these chilling tales? If you're fascinated by the mysteries that history has left behind, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We have so many more unsolved stories to explore together. Thanks for watching and stay curious.